Hello, Sarah. Thank you for coming to talk to me again. It's so funny because the last time we spoke, uh, I was asking you all about Popeye, Popeye the Slayer Man. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek slasher, and now we're talking about Garden of Eden, which is like completely on the other
Oh,
side,
yes, very much
completely
so.
different. But before we do that, I want to get to know you a little bit more and
Sure.
your career in horror. So, to start off, you have such a wide, like, career in horror and indie movies, and I want to know what brought you to acting in the first place, and more specifically, acting in horror films.
Sure. Well, I didn't like set out to do horror films. I just wanted to act. And so horror is one of those genres that's really loyal, as I'm sure you can tell.
Yes.
Um, a lot of actors continue to work in horror. A lot of filmmakers continue to work in horror. Fans are extremely loyal. So once I started working in horror, it was just like a snowball effect and it kept going. And I feel like I became more in love with the genre the more I worked in it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Um, but I first wanted to start acting because I had a crush on a boy, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, the child
Of
star.
course. Who didn't have a crush on
Who
him,
didn't,
honestly?
right? Yeah. And I was like, oh, in my little like 10-year-old brain or whatever, I was like, well, if we ever get a chance to meet each other, of course we're gonna like instantly fall in love and get married. How do I meet him? Oh, I'll just become a big famous actress. No
So
problem.
easy.
So easy. So I knew that that would be somewhat difficult. So I started doing school plays and acting as soon as I could. Once I made that decision, that's what I wanted to do. So I did my first play in middle school, it was Bye Bye Birdie when I was in sixth grade, and I hated being on stage. I had such terrible stage fright. I was really shy as a kid, and in that case, for that play, it actually worked for me because they needed a character that was going to be like a shy, sad girl who wouldn't break and wouldn't laugh when the other guy was like dancing around her and stuff. So that was the part that I got. And then I just continued to do more and more school plays. By the time I got to high school, I actually started liking acting. And I was no longer obsessed with JTT anymore. So sad. Um, and then after high school is when I did my very first film. It was a short film, short, just independent film. And then I went on to go to college for acting. I went to Emerson, and so that's really where I started to learn a lot of different techniques. And while I was there, I was in Boston. I was like, well, Boston's a big city. There has to be some sort of film happening in Boston. So I started doing some research and I found some casting websites and started submitting myself and started working in independent film in Boston while I was going to school. So all the other college kids were going to parties and I was going to make an indie film on the weekend. So that's really how it started. And I got referred to, I did a short film with William DeCoff, who is a local actor in New England. He's fantastic. We became friends, and he referred me to Richard Griffin, who was a very prolific director in the region, and he still has done a huge number of horror movies. And so he recommended me for Splatter Disco, and that was my first horror feature. Because Richard really liked me, and so he put me in the movie, and then we did like 13 movies together after that.
Jeez.
Um, so he already had like distribution deals and all that stuff lined up. And back in the day when, straight to DVD was actually something you could make money on when we had DVDs. Um, so it was really working with Richard and Ted Marr, his producing partner and husband, that put me on the map because people watched his films, even people in LA like knew of his work. So eventually I built up a resume, I built up a demo reel, and then moved out to Los Angeles. And I at least had a little bit of a footing out here because people had knew me from the work that I had done with Richard.
That's a crazy story. And all because of Jonathan Taylor Thomas. He
Yes,
should be proud.
I know. I know. I'm like, someday I need to like actually meet him. I know he's not acting anymore, but I'm like, someday I need to like meet him and I maybe thank you. I don't know.
Yes. Gotta complete the circle here.
Yeah.
So, throughout your career, you've played both final girls and villains. Do you have like a preference of what you like to play, or is it kind of just like in the middle, whatever, it's all fun?
I mean it's all fun for sure. I like doing both. I think I do prefer to be the final girl more so than the villain. I don't think being a villain doesn't really fit with my personality as much. So it's a little bit more of a stretch, which is still fun to do, you know, because it's good to stretch yourself and challenge yourself in those ways. It's just I don't feel as comfortable doing it because I feel like I have to, you know, put on more.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, being the final girl, I like being the I'm gonna go out and, you know, kill the monsters. And I've always been like athletic and I've always done, you know, sports and that sort of thing. So like I like those the physicality that also
Mhm.
comes with those roles a lot of the times too.
Your performances also bring a lot of depth, especially in very dark moments, as we'll come to find out in Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Is there any way that you like prepare yourself for those types of moments?
For Garden of Eden especially, that one was like I think that was the most like deep diving role that I ha had the opportunity to do. And a lot of that stuff just it goes back to like the stuff I've learned the all the boring actor stuff I learned in school. Um, and I try to just find ways to connect the emotional like points of what the character is feeling with things from my own life. So even if I haven't, you know, in Garden of Eden, she has a daughter that died. I haven't had a daughter that died, but I've experienced loss and I've experienced all the different types of emotions that come with loss and the guilt and just that like the franticness and how crushing and overwhelming it can feel. So it's using the tools that I've learned in acting school to kind of connect to those moments in my life and bring those emotions out so that they are there kind of like in my palette and ready to use when we go to actually film it. And then I also like to do things like listening to music that is going to help, you know, keep you in a certain headspace, get a certain emotional response. I'll journal as if I am the character, like what did I do today? And like it just helps to create, you know, a more in-depth world that you can really just relate to and pull from once you're filming.
Now, when we're talking about Garden of Eden, when you got the script for this, what was going through your head? Because for me watching it, I'm like, oh my God, like this is crazy. Did you have any like, wow, that's crazy moments or like, oh, shock and horror moments? What was going through your head?
I knew that it was going to be dark. I mean, they'd prefaced that a little bit before they sent it to me because I had worked with Marcel and Joe on a previous film, Pretty Boy. So we already had a relationship. And from working on with them on that film, they were like, "Well, we're doing this other film. You want to, you know, give it a read, take it a look. It's a little darker. It's going to be more in the style of
Just a
Martyrs."
little bit darker.
A little darker. And I'm like, well, I love Martyrs, so great film, but that already put me in like the framework of I know what I'm going to be getting into when I read
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And when I read it, I was just the role of Patricia was so deep, and there was so much to do with that that I was like, this is such a fantastic opportunity to be able to play this character and to be able to, you know, put on so many different layers to this. So I honestly like when I read it, I was so focused just on that. I kind of didn't even realize how gory the rest of it was gonna be. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Other people get killed, but you know, in my scene, it's just like a throat slit, and you know, it's not that bad. I didn't like it also, to be fair, in the original script, things like the seeing the abortion scene was not in the original script. That was added after. So they added more gore as they were filming
He
as
said, "This isn't
well.
enough. We need more."
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I've heard Garden of Eden. So obviously I've seen it, but I've been looking around at like other reviews just to see what other people's thoughts are on it, and I've seen it be described as artistic torture porn, and I would completely agree with that.
That's
That's
fair.
exactly
Yeah.
what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it does have all of those like super graphic torture porn elements, but it's shot in a more beautiful, like artistic folk horror kind of way. So,
Yes, yes, definitely. Do you have any favorite scenes?
oh boy. Um,
Because for me, I'll give you a second to think here. For
yeah.
me, I nothing against men, but it's just it tickles me pink to see penises getting chopped off. I'm just like, yeah, yeah, let's go. Because
Yeah.
you don't really see it that often. Like it's one
No.
thing to even see any kind of male nudity, but it's a whole other thing to see it like be that graphic and violent. So
Yes.
I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. And
equality.
shocking and yeah. And usually it's the women who get it, you know? Usually
Yes.
it's the women that are being torn apart and stuff. I think that's one of the things that really sticks with me is and it's hard to even I don't know if it's even really like a scene, but it's like the dancing sequence out in the desert.
Yes.
Like that was so beautiful. Like and just with the costuming, with the sun setting, and Sarah, who's doing the dance there, who's a very, very skilled dancer. And it's kind of this like moment of reprieve from the craziness that's happening. And I didn't, and again, that's another thing that they just shot and put in there and was not like originally in the script. So when I first saw it, I was like, wow, this is like gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah, the trailer starts off with that and it's
Yes.
like intercut with a whole bunch of like blood and craziness and
Mhm.
it works so well together. You would never think that it would like they would go together something so beautiful and something so bloody, but
Yeah.
they absolutely do.
Yeah. So I enjoyed when I enjoyed watching it and seeing that because that was a surprise to like, especially from the stuff that I'd seen when I was on set or, you know, the other things that I'd read in the script. It was like it also kind of felt like it expanded the world a bit more just because
Yeah.
it's outside and like it just, yeah, I really liked that sequence of it.
Are there any parts of Eden that resonated with you personally?
I mean, even going through like my preparation for Patricia, there had to be some level of getting in touch with the need for revenge, the want for revenge, and those ugly feelings that like we have that hopefully none of us like act on.
Yeah, hopefully.
but still like coming to terms with that and making that personal and understanding that we do all have this capacity for violence if we're pushed to a certain level. And so I think that part was personal for me. I had to make it personal, you know, to me in order to be able to play it. But I have never taken the actual action of trying to like get revenge on someone. I've thought about it. I mean, we've all
Oh
thought
yeah,
about
for
it,
sure.
you know? So,
Yeah, I am the same as you. It's like I've never gone to that level, but definitely like sometimes you think about those kinds of things just to think
yeah,
about, not to
just
act
to think
on.
about. Like I could do this and I could do this and like maybe I like kind of had a plan of how I could pull it off, but no, I'm not actually gonna do it. I'm not actually gonna take that step.
Are there any scenes that you're really excited for people to watch?
I really love the last scene that I have, the monologue scene. I think that came out really, really well. So I really hope that people watch that. I mean, the whole film is just really beautiful, and I really
Yeah.
hope that people will continue to go through and like watch the whole thing. But for me, I'm like, if I was gonna say, and also selfishly, of course, too, but like, but if I was like watch one scene in the movie, it's like that's the one that I would pick.
And I have to agree because I love your monologue, but it was such a wild ride watching that scene because you go from, oh, I totally agree with Patricia. She should kill him. But then hearing that, the accident that caused your daughter's death was actually an accident. But then
Yeah.
hearing what led up to that accident, you're going back and forth, and it's like, I don't know
What
what
do I
is right and what
do?
is wrong.
Yeah. Who do I side with? What do I want to
Precisely.
happen? Like,
Right, right.
neither that one of them are really good in that moment, Like, so what do you succumb to the darkness or do you rise above it or yeah, it's a lot going on there.
It is a lot going on. But I loved every second of it. On to just general horror movie stuff. I just want to hear your opinions and see what you think.
Sure.
So, what was the first horror movie that you remember watching ever?
Yeah, so I didn't because I did I grew up in a more somewhat conservative, not like religious, but more just socially
Yeah.
conservative household, and so we never really watched horror movies when I was a kid. So the first horror movies that I actually saw was at a sleepover party. We were in this was pre junior high, so like fourth or fifth grade, somewhere in there. And my friend had an older brother who actually went to Blockbuster Video when that was a thing, and rented them for us because rated R and all that stuff. So we did a double feature of The Exorcist and the original Halloween. Um,
Okay, those are good picks.
and I mean, imagine watching The Exorcist with a room full of like preteen girls in like their sleeping bags. So yeah, it was a unique experience.
You got to start off hard, I guess.
I guess. I mean, yeah,
I was gonna
terrifying.
say the first one I remember watching was Frankenstein,
Oh,
actually.
nice.
Yeah, so like a
That's
nice
better.
easy entry. However, I will say that I did not grow up in a conservative household at all. My parents let us have free reign of whatever movies we wanted to, and I'm just a spooky girl at heart. So I've always been interested in Halloween and horror things. And I figured, why not start off around the same as you, same age. Start off Frankenstein. That seems like one I probably should watch.
That's yeah, I think and I love that you chose that also
Yeah.
too, because like going back to like the older movies, like originals, I feel like a lot of people, especially kids these days, don't even know what they are, you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
which is
it's
really sad because
crazy.
that's the foundation for everything.
It really is. It really is. Do you consider yourself someone who is a fraidy cat or someone who can kind of maybe get scared in the moment but laugh about it later?
At this point, I'm not that much of a fraidy cat anymore. I used to be, like when I first, started watching horror, but I have become a bit desensitized.
Yeah.
Also working in it and seeing behind the curtain, so much, and you're like, oh, I know how they do all these things now. That also takes a lot of the scare out of it. So these days it's rare if I actually get scared watching a horror film. I'm more like, oh, I see what they were doing. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like good job, guys. Like that was effective. As opposed to like actually being scared. Same thing even with like, like haunted house mazes and walkthroughs and stuff used to terrify me. Now I'm like, oh, they did a really good, nice art direction here.
Yeah.
Like
Nice art direction.
that's like
I love
this
that.
looks great. Like good.
I same again. I am desensitized at this point. However, I will say it is still very easy to scare me.
Nice.
I'm a flinchy person. It's not so much the content of it though, it's the noise.
Yeah.
You have people that, close their eyes. I'm an ear person. It's definitely the
Mhm.
noise. Same in haunted houses. Like I too am end up admiring, all of the work here. But if someone jumps out at me, like that's a cheap scare, but
Yeah.
I'll laugh about it later.
But that's great because honestly, that's the most fun people to like watch horror films with are the people that are gonna jump and gonna
Yes.
react. And then like that's I love that.
My my friends like to put me first in line at haunted houses. And
Nice.
it's not my favorite, but that's a role I was meant to play, I guess.
That's and of course then they pick you out and they just like
Yes,
that
every time. But I mean I'm making it easy though. I'm sitting here like walking through like this. So make it easy for them.
you might as well just wear a sign that says like scare
Yeah.
me.
But it's all fun. It's all fun. I love it. I keep going back. So it's all
Exactly.
good. Do you have a favorite horror icon that is like stuck with you this entire time?
Oh man.
You can
What?
only choose
Yeah,
one.
only one. Only one. Um, I feel like because I saw Halloween, like that was one of the first films that I saw. I think that Michael Myers is definitely stuck with me. At least when I first saw the film, I was in my mind was like, how did he know that like that she was gonna go through that route and like put all of her dead friends like in exactly where she was gonna find them. And so the idea of this like mythical like boogeyman that's kind of like an omnipotent and has a better understanding of like future events, I think was pretty terrifying and stuck with me like for a while.
I love Michael Myers. Okay, I have a few quick fire questions. So
Oh,
I'm gonna ask you these. It's kind of like a this or that kind of thing. So don't
okay.
even think about it. Just choose, okay?
Okay. All right.
First one, which you kind may have already answered. Favorite horror villain?
We'll say Michael Myers again. Sure. Yeah.
Blood or brains?
Blood,
Found footage or psychological thriller?
psychological thriller for sure.
Who is the best scream queen?
Oh, I have to say, first coming to my head is Jamie Lee Curtis, original Mama
Yes.
Scream Queen. Yep.
Ghosts, witches, or werewolves?
Witches.
Oh, I love witches. Okay. Would you rather be chased by a masked slasher, trapped in a haunted house, or abducted by aliens?
Ooh, abducted by aliens. At least I get a view.
Yeah, actually. Okay, do you think is there one horror genre that you think is underrated?
Oh, uh, uh, yeah,
You can
that's
think
a
about it,
trick.
but you can only pick one though.
Only one, only one. Well, I mean, I really like folk horror. That's like coming around a lot now just 'cause with
Yeah.
Garden Eden and stuff. But yeah, I really enjoy folk horror. I don't know if it's necessarily like underrated, but yeah, it's something that people always talk about slashers, and like that's always the first thing we go to. So I'm
Yeah.
like, let's do stuff that has a little more depth, I
Yes. Yes.
guess.
And last one, what is your horror comfort movie?
Oh, well, we just watched Jaws, so I'm gonna say Jaws because that's like,
Perfect timing, 50th
yeah,
anniversary. That movie's 50 years old. That is crazy.
crazy, so crazy.
Crazy.
But that is kind of like a comfy blanket kind of movie too. Like
Yeah.
it's just so good.
Yeah, it is. Okay, two last questions and then that's it. Two
All
last
right.
questions. What are you working on now? What are your plans for the future? If you can tell us anything.
Sure. Well, I have one thing that I can't talk about because it's not released yet, but once it's released, then we can come back and talk about it. But I'm gearing up to shoot a film called Total Party Kill next month in July. It's about an all-female Dungeons and Dragons role-playing group.
Oh,
And it's a over-the-top like horror comedy with lots of gore. And the way that your character dies in the game is how you die in real life. So it's like a fun kind of Jumanji-esque.
Oh, I
type
love that. I love that. Like Stay Alive, but with D&D.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. So,
My younger brother plays D&D, so I'm sure I'm gonna tell him about that when it
uh,
comes.
that's yeah. I'm like, I don't know why no one's because there's a big crossover between like horror-dumb and like geekdom.
Yes.
So I'm surprised that no one's like done something like that before. So yeah, we're gonna be the first.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we're gonna be shooting that, and then I have a film called If It Bleeds, which is an anthology. Probably will be coming out next year. They said that they're gonna try to do an industry screening by the end of this year, so it'll probably be coming out to the masses next year.
All right. And is there any last words you'd like to say about Garden of Eden? It is streaming now, everyone, so go
Yes.
watch it. But if there's anything else you would like to say about it, now is the time.
I would just say go watch it. Hopefully you're not offended, or maybe hopefully you are a little offended. I don't
Yeah.
It
Let's
does have a
ruffle some feathers.
let's ruffle some feathers. If you're a very devout Christian, you might be offended. It has a very strong social message, and a lot of people really put a lot of their heart and soul into this film. So I hope you guys like it.